Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the C.I.C. Lounge. I'm Peter.
I'm Jen.
And today we're going to be talking about Lower Decks Episode 3.
In the Cradle of Vexilon.
Vexilon is a artificial intelligence running a Halo-type ring.
Or Larry Niven's Ring World, if you want to predate Halo. It's a mega structure. Dealing with common themes and tropes in science fiction. Obviously, in a lot of cases, these control AIs tend to go insane and then change the environment or declare war on whatever inhabited species is living in the said megastructure that they're maintaining. But not in this case.
No.
Vexilon was just a version of Windows that needed an update.
But it was funny how everybody in the episode was like, is this one of those, have we gone a rogue with the AI? Is he trying to take over the planet?
Right.
Are these people worshiping him for no reason?
Exactly.
No, we love Vexilon. We love Vexilon.
Which I appreciate that Lower Decks can do that. They can call a trope
out. And
they
do. The entire episode was great. The other story. So we have three stories really within this episode. We have Captain and First Officer Ransom. Thank you. I always forget his name. So we have the Captain. We have Ransom doing their thing. We have Boimler leading his first away mission. And then we also have the rest of the crew. Our four main characters, so the other three are on the ship being hazed.
Yes.
But they don't think they're being hazed, but they think they're being hazed. That was actually really good, and I
loved Mariner's line. They're not cool enough to haze us. Yeah.
But I love how when they go into the room of oddities, I forget what the room was actually called.
I wrote it down. It's the anomaly storage room.
The anomaly storage room. Thank you.
Brilliant.
And she starts going, "Oh, is that one of those machines?" And she starts singing a little song and like.
So that was a total reference to Move Along Home, which was a season 1 Deep Space Nine episode in which 3 characters from Deep Space Nine get stuck inside this game and they have to figure out how to get out. It's sort of like an escape room, but they don't know the stakes when they're in the room. They don't, they think it's life or death. And of course, but they make it to the end of the episode in Deep Space Nine and the aliens who brought the game, they're like, what? And I'm like, we could have died in there. And they're like, it's a game. We weren't going to die. It's just a game. Like, duh.
Why didn't you know this?
They didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty desperate. But again, this is one of those things where the writers of Lower Decks are playing on every element of Star Trek, and they can take pieces like the Betazoid gift chest with the talking head that's what? I don't know what 1980s science fiction was thinking in some cases, particularly television, but all right, someone thought this would be a good idea. And then what it does is it really lets Lower Decks poke fun at it.
Oh, absolutely.
In a very creative, very funny way. And I loved what they did with that Betazoid gift box in conjunction with this piece from a Deep Space Nine episode.
I knew that you'd be able to let me know where I'd seen that game. The Jumanji style game where they get sucked into it.
Yeah.
Because I could remember that there was an episode that I saw, but I couldn't remember what series it was on.
Alamarine, count to 4.
Alamarine,
then 3 more.
Lemon meringue.
Lemon meringue.
I love Mariner. Cracks me up.
She's brilliant. Tawny Newsome just does an amazing job with Mariner.
And then Rutherford, when he's like goes to take down all of the shenanigans that they did.
Oh yeah, gets stuck in the game and then has to race through it.
All right, little girl, I got this. Get out of my way.
Right.
But no, and what's up with the trope where every away mission, if something goes wrong, and I think, what's the first officer again? What's
Ransom.
His name? Ransom. Why do I keep forgetting his name? I'm sorry, you guys.
I can remember Jerry O'Connell easier than I can remember Ransom for some reason.
Well, Jerry O'Connell.
Right. First officer married to the first officer on Strange New Worlds. It's kind of easy to remember that. So,
anyway, so he he literally tells the captain, "Hey, we have
Engineers
engineers
for
that
this,
can
like,
do this." And she goes, "Oh no, I took classes
I
back when I was
minored
in
in
school."
obscure alien something or
And so
other.
she has to do it. But it's like every series, the away missions that they take, the captain always has to like feels the need to fill this hole, fill this role, excuse me. And is it that the captains are supposed to stay on the ship so they don't get a lot of away mission time, even though all we ever see is the captains going on away missions?
Well, I mean, it depends on the series. You know, like in the original series, Kirk was constantly going on away missions.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd take everybody. And the Next Generation, you know, Riker makes it a point in season 1 to tell Picard like, I'm gonna go so you can stay on the ship. And you know, in modern Navy terms, you don't really have away missions.
No.
Like there's not like you might have a landing party or something, you know, a reason for some members of the crew to go ashore. I mean, unless the captain's going on liberty or recreation or something, the captain doesn't have a reason to leave. He has people to go deal with getting supplies and,
Exactly.
you know. So in Star Trek though, and in a lot of science fiction, and I know this from my own writing, your hero tends to be your captain, but you can't just have your hero sitting back while all the other heroics are being carried out
Doesn't
by
make
minor
for
ancillary
good.
characters. Exactly. And I run into this problem with my own saga that I'm writing. It's that, well, my captain wouldn't actually be at the front lines in this situation. She has a Marine detachment and a first officer who would lead this mission. All she can do is sit back and watch on a webcam what's going on, you know? And she's probably hours away, so she's getting a time delayed feed as it is. And writing that is not very exciting if you're writing your entire story from your captain's POV. So it's finding
Sitting
that
on her ship.
yeah, it's finding that balance of realism and then escapism with creating characters that are going to go on an adventure that you want to read about or watch. So yeah, that's you know, we can tease Star Trek a lot for like always taking their senior officers when in fact all you need is an engineering team or God forbid a couple of security guards. Like Worf is constantly shot down in Next Generation, you know, and
But if we had listened to Worf in like 90% of the situations, we wouldn't have.
right. And then, you know, there wouldn't be much drama. There wouldn't,
Exactly.
you know.
We wouldn't have the shenanigans and the fun that we all know and love.
I'd like to think though that there's a way to be real about it and be dramatic. Have good storytelling. I think there can be a balance, and it might involve more characters or flexing skills within characters to do that.
I have wondered about that because, you know, doing this podcast with you and watching sci-fi shows that I haven't seen in a long time or that are brand new to me, it's eye-opening to see that, yeah, you know, especially with like watching Lower Decks and then going back and watching other Star Trek series, all we ever see are these like the same 5 or 6 characters. Every once in a while we'll see a new random person in the hallway or at 10 forward or whatever, but we don't actually get any acknowledgement towards these characters. And so all we ever see is, you know, Picard and Riker going on away missions or and like with Lower Decks, that's a Mariner and her little crew. That's all we ever see is them. But at least with that show, they like that the whole point is
Exactly.
making fun of
That's from the Lower Decks. Like that's the POV that we're meant to see. And yeah, from a storytelling standpoint, usually whenever you have a special guest star coming in as an officer who's going to go on the away team, it never ends well for them.
No.
Whether they die or whether, in the case of Nella Darin in the episode Lessons, she falls in love with her captain. They engage in a relationship because that's okay. You know, until Picard's like, no, I can't take it anymore. You need to leave. Oh.
Get off my ship.
Shit. Like, that's what happens when you're too good at your job and you fall in love with your captain. Then you get booted.
I hate when that happens. I fall in love with my captain all the time.
In naval tradition, it's usually this senior person who gets booted in a inappropriate relationship situation, not the junior, but...
So, kind of going on along those lines, wouldn't these ensigns who are now junior grade lieutenants wouldn't they be transferred onto another ship? Because I mean, we kind of are addressing this with this episode, because Boimler, he has this like moment of crisis. How am I supposed to be in charge of these people on this away mission when literally 2 days ago I was the same rank as them? So he has this little bit of existential crisis that he deals with throughout the episode. So you, as former military, can you shed some light on that? Like,
well, usually how it works, like in the case of officers, from ensign lieutenant to lieutenant JG is like an auto promote. Unless you fuck up, you're auto advanced to JG after a certain amount of time. And usually when you're assigned to a ship, you're assigned to a billet or a job that can be filled by a rank range. So an ensign or a lieutenant, junior grade, or a lieutenant can fill this position. So on the case of the Cerritos, you know, these group of ensigns, just because they're now lieutenants, they're still filling a specific job role or title that they can carry out, whether they're ensigns or junior grade lieutenants. Okay. They have a little more positional authority when they move up in rank, but whatever job they're assigned on the ship, whether that's a division officer position or a assistant communications officer or whatever their job title in Star Trek is. And again, Star Trek's a little different because they don't really talk about enlisted ranks so much. Everything tends to be officer focused, which is not how the U.S. Navy is structured. So it's a little different. But my guess is that you have X number of people assigned to do a specific range of tasks, whether they're ensigns or JGs, it doesn't matter. And we actually see that in this episode where this feels like an ensign job, but no, really, it's just any low-level peon's going to do it. And even though you're lieutenants now, you're still going to do it.
You're still low level,
yeah,
so guess
exactly.
what, kids?
You're still lower decks. And that's the point. We want them to stay lower decks because that's the point of the show.
Exactly.
So
yeah, once they're, up there on the bridge all the time, they're no longer lower decks and the show doesn't have a show.
Right, like I would not trust Boimler in command of a ship.
Oh God, no.
But Mariner, there's no reason Mariner couldn't be in command. Like, she's silly and she's a little outlandish, but when push comes to shove, she has the knowledge, she has the skills, and she has the leadership talent to command.
And we kind of see that with this episode too, because once the commanding officer that gives the three of them this task to do, he like, obviously you guys have already watched this episode, so so once they've already set up all their little shenanigans get back at this guy, he messes with them and gives them this sob story. And so in order to and he fools them, and in order to fix this, Mariner distracts him by talking about his favorite topic, which is some random alien jazz music, and she turns around and is like, fix it. And so the other two immediately go off and do the two jobs that need to be done as fast as possible.
Right. And we see this in Mariner all the time, that she's insubordinate, she's sarcastic and whatnot, and really it's just for show, because deep down she's got mad skills.
Yeah.
But we want to keep it real, keep it lower decks. So
she's full of shenanigans.
We're just going to enjoy what she does. And, the crossover episode into Strange New Worlds, like, I love the fact that they kept Mariner very much Mariner, like hot Spock, and, her comments about everything. Like, she was, like, the noises she made at the conference room table in that scene with Strange New Worlds, like dragging her fingers across the table. It's so Mariner. So.
I do love how with that episode, the crossover episode, she does take Boimler off to the side and starts talking to him like they do in the cartoon.
Exactly.
But in the cartoon, it makes it look like they're so far apart from each other that the other people can't hear. But in Strange New Worlds, they were only like 2-3 feet away from each other. So they could have heard her. They probably did hear every word she said.
Well, they did. And one of the characters actually said, talked about how the references seem to be oddly specific.
Yes.
Like, they could actually hear what they were saying. Not that they could make sense of what they were saying.
They're
but
oddly specific. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. Not as good as the first two that we were introduced to. We had no reference to the weird ship that we saw in the first two episodes. So I'm wondering if this was just
there's
filler.
There's one element. Maybe you can shed some light on this. It's the scene between when Boimler is killed and he wakes up and he's in this room with this glowing koala thing.
Yes, like what is going on here? The only thing I can think of is, Boimler's dead, but he does have his double, and his double is in Section 31. So are we going to see the double come back and take over Boimler's spot? But then Boimler is brought back to life, so I don't know.
But that room with the koala with
I was hoping you had some insight on that.
I don't know what that I don't understand that reference, and I mean, I have seen most of Star Trek. I have not seen the animated series, though, and there's some episodes of the original series where I've only seen it once. Been a while, but no, it's a reference that I don't get. But that koala is a recurring theme in Lower Decks.
Is it now?
So
have I missed the koala?
Didn't in the opening credits once there was a
maybe.
You were the one who pointed it out to me.
Oh, there was the koala in the stars in the background, but wasn't that in the crossover Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds?
I don't know.
I think it was.
So what's the significance? Maybe I don't know. We'll have to look that up. But if you know, please let us know.
Yeah, please post
I don't get the reference. And I don't like it when I don't get the reference.
Now I'm going to have to go back and watch the entire series, like binge it all over again and watch for any subtleties. Because if there's like a koala that pops up, like are any of the artists or writers or directors with this, were they associated with American Dad? Because there's a character that's a koala in there.
I don't know.
Or is it something like in C.I.C where they had a pineapple in every single episode? Is there a koala hidden in every single episode?
I don't know what the significance is.
Now that you brought that up, I'm gonna have to go back and
have to find out.
Do some research.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode. This was pure just fun. I think the reason I enjoyed it so much was the play on the Betazoid gift box and the game from Deep Space Nine. Just taking those elements and just two random pieces, just small minor things, and smashing them together, in a funny, unique way is what I love about Lower Decks. And they continue to deliver those moments so that, if you'd never seen Star Trek, okay, all right, that's kind of an interesting bit with this game. But if you've seen it, it's just so much more impactful when you get that reference.
Yeah.
So,
and I did like the very end where the two senior officers were in the bar, and of course our characters that we follow are sitting off to the side, and they're talking about how they were messing with the JGs. He's like, they give me life. So yeah, overall loved the episode. Really enjoyed it. They're doing well. I am very intrigued as to see what's going to happen next with with the next episode, obviously, but what's going to happen with that little egg-shaped ship that we were introduced to with the first two episodes.
Yeah. That's
got to be something deeper in there. So
definitely
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts from you?
Nope. That's it.
All
Great
right.
episode.
Good insight. Well, everybody, thank you so much. As always, if you have any comments, please leave them. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to ask. And we'll see you next time on the C.I.C Lounge. I'm Peter.
I'm Jen.
See you next time, guys.